Well, hello then.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
It's never perfect when you do it.
No.
No shade, Ryan.
That's amazing.
Hello and welcome to Did I Save Podcast. It is a podcast about the way games change and the way games change us.
Beautifully said.
Today's
I'm
episode.
going to steal that.
Today's episode 9,
Yep.
is going to be about world design. And to discuss this topic, I brought along two people. I brought along Jared,
You didn't bring me. I volunteered.
and I brought along Talon,
Hello.
and then I brought myself. My name's Ryan.
Perfect.
Hey, Ryan.
And we're discussing world design or level design. When I first pitched it, I was like, level design. Just thinking about the way game developers create their worlds.
The geometry of a world.
And does that world allow you to explore it in a way that's fun? Is it interesting to explore? Does it reward you for exploring in a way that feels rewarding? Or is it just bad? But
Is it memorable?
we want to talk about highlights, but I'm sure along the way we're going to talk about some bad level design for comparable reasons.
We try not to get too much in the weeds, but I just want to clarify up front that when I'm thinking about this, I use the term worlds to describe a game where I'm talking about holistically the world itself, the characters in that world, the way the narrative takes you through that world, like as an entire experience. What does it all feel like when it comes together? That's like a world to me. And so this episode, I specifically focused on, does this, the layout of
Like
this
a,
world.
more of a world building sense.
In a sense, absolutely. And it's about, like, does it direct me in the way that it needs to? Does it communicate clearly without being obvious what I need to do next, how I need to move forward? Is it memorable to be in this world? And really, at the end of the day, it's like, does it facilitate the gameplay that the game wants me to pursue? Like, does it complement the way that the game's combat or action
Maybe
is
about
designed?
how well it immerses you.
It's definitely going to be significantly more immersive if it does its job.
Yeah.
It is there to facilitate the verbs that you're given and the story that you're
And this is where you and I just have different personalities. I'm talking about just like, is it fun?
I think that's what it, I mean, to be fair, that's what it boils down to. It's like at the end of the end goal of all those big words is, does it make the game more fun, or does it make the game less fun?
Yeah.
Does it work against itself, or does it complement itself?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify, because we will probably do an episode in the future about worlds, about the best worlds, the best places to submerge yourself in.
Most immersive.
Right.
Immersive.
Not submersive.
Well, I want to submerge myself in the world and feel immersed in its fiction.
Nice.
What about you, Talon?
You know, when you said, I want to talk about level design, world design, I don't pay attention to it that often.
Okay.
I think...
I don't think I do as much as I should, which is why this was
I
really hard
do.
for me.
I know you do specifically because... And I don't know if that's just because...
And are we talking about multiplayer maps? Does anybody have multiplayer maps?
I have
on
multiplayer
theirs?
maps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a solid map level, you know, but it's clear and concise. But I don't know if it's because of your artistic background that you pay attention to.
I think it
more.
is.
You know what I mean?
I like to create.
Because I don't really notice a level unless it's just that good
Or that bad.
or it's just that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely,
Because
yeah.
I can play games.
Makes
That
sense.
usually I'm like, you know, it's just like, I don't think it's that great, but I don't really, it's just like, it's just like,
Yeah.
It's
Because
doing what it's supposed to,
it's
which is
doing what it's
guide me
supposed
through
to,
it
yeah.
without being obvious about it.
right.
Yeah.
If you're
So-
noticing it, it's either doing something very good or very bad.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's crazy how much we kind of almost take that for granted. Where it's like if you don't pay attention to it, and it's just kind of like you're just moving throughout the world. But then when it's really good, it hits really well. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, this is fun to move throughout this world. So, but I think you pay attention to it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you've brought it up in conversations prior where you're just like, man, I like the way this is interconnected, or I like this specifically about the level. And I'm just like, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So, but then when you brought it up, I was just like, I was like, what games do I go back to that have really solid
Yeah.
level design?
Yeah.
So,
So I think we'll start with Jarrett. If you
Sure,
want to give
yeah,
your
okay,
number
yeah.
one pick.
So I think I have one that kind of exemplifies exactly what I'm thinking of when I think about a good map. But it's kind of the whole world itself, how it's laid out. Is Half-Life 2.
That's that's excellent.
It is I went back and played it just to make sure that I wasn't misremembering.
Yeah.
And it is truly incredible what an amazing balance this game manages to strike between directing you in the way that you need to go without, using like an arrow or bright colors or whatever. Like, it is so subtle and organic in the way that it moves you through the world, while also not making it feel so narrow and so focused that you feel like you're on rails. And every time you go off the beaten path, instead of hitting a dead end, you find something unique and interesting.
Yeah.
Last night I was playing a level and I saw that there was like a sewer grate that was like cracked open, but it was elevated. So I stack a bunch of stuff up, I jump in there, and I move through it, and it's like damaging me because I'm in like sewage. Like, don't go this way. But I'm like, well, it wouldn't be open if there wasn't something. So I keep going, and then you take a right turn, and there's like an alien vibing by a campfire, and he's like singing to himself.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
I was like, there's always just some little weird thing
Yeah.
that fits in the universe that makes it feel more alive and more real. It never punishes you for being curious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're ready to move on, it is always very clear about how you can do that. Basically, I just think that game strikes a really great balance between making it feel alive and real and lived in, and rewarding you for being curious about it, but also, that's what I was saying. One of the great things about this game is it was one of the first games to really commit itself to using the physics engine for more than just looking cool.
Yes.
And I remember when this game came out, like, this game is the thing that launched Steam. You had to download
It's
Steam
the first thing
to
I
play
did when
it,
I got my Steam account.
right? Like, yeah. And I remember, like, my neighbor was downloading this. He got it for Christmas, but he couldn't play it without downloading Steam first. So at 28K a second, and everybody else is doing this because everybody else got Half-Life 2 for Christmas and they want to play it. And I remember it took like a full day for us just to download the client for this. And by the time we had such a bad taste in our mouths, by the time we actually played it, and it still blew us away. Like, we were ready to be mad at this game, and it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And there's eventually you get a gravity gun that allows you to manipulate anything that's not alive, basically.
Yeah.
And it dedicates a whole level. This game does a great thing that Zelda does where, like, every time you're in a particular dungeon, you get a new item. The dungeon is designed to teach you all the different ways you can use that item. You take it out and you use it. And this game does that same thing. Every time you get a new weapon, it gives you lots of opportunities to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And especially with the gravity gun, you end up in this town where this one dude is the only person left alive, and he has set up traps throughout the whole town to kill all these people who've been, like, basically possessed by these little alien creatures.
The hats.
And the hats, the head crabs.
Head crabs.
And so
sounds gross.
you have to, like, be super. It definitely does. So the whole environment is designed around manipulating physics, and it is such a memorable level in particular because
Using those saws.
the whole time. Yeah, there's like saw blades stuck in the wall that you're like yanking out, and it feels so good in this game to manipulate all of this stuff. And it was so fun to tinker with, and it only gets. That is a game that just continually amps up.
I think in
all of
that
stuff.
certain section of the game, you don't have guns. I can't remember exactly why.
You can use them if you want.
I know,
I replayed
right.
it last night,
Okay.
but why?
I remember
didn't
using the
want
gravity
to.
gun so much in that
Yeah.
scenario, and it was just so satisfying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is. It is.
How,
really
how
great.
much have you played of Half-Life 2, Taylor?
I've never beat Half-Life 2.
You never beaten it? Okay.
But
For some reason, I was thinking you had a limited experience.
It's really good.
I've beaten it like 3 times, and every time I find new things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back expecting it to feel pretty dated.
Yeah.
And there are some elements of it that feel a little dated, but overall,
It's a blast.
That game just blew me away.
Yeah.
It's good. It's great. I haven't played
And a
the
big
third.
part of it is it feels so good to
I need
explore.
a
Yeah.
VR system to play the new one.
Alex.
But, man, those reviews are crazy good.
Yeah.
I've purposefully not spoiled that.
Yourself.
Yeah, I don't
Right,
pay any
yeah.
attention to it because I saw a video of someone like the gloves that you can get for VR. They were like picking up individual objects and like playing catch with them and stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't want to know anything else about this
Nope.
game. I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
totally
It's gonna be a
blind.
blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a VR set for my laptop.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me
be
know.
incredible.
We'll definitely record some fun stuff with that for the
Yeah,
podcast.
Yeah.
Taylor, what's your number one?
Good question.
That can't be your answer.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead.
Well, let me look
We've
at
had
it. No,
4
just kidding.
weeks,
I did.
Taylor.
Yeah. So.
Oh, he's pulling a Ryan. He's pulling a Ryan. Look at him.
No, I mean,
His
I've got
notes.
notes, man. I've got notes. So, my biggest thing for solid level design is, can you traverse the level in a fun and meaningful way?
That's a big one for me too.
Because if it's not fun to move around the level, like if the level itself is interesting, but it's not fun to explore the level, that to me is frustrating.
Which, if you heard my take on Midnight Sun's world, you'll know I like to have a fun way to traverse.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, I have a good example and I have a bad example.
Oh, nice.
And mine is the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider.
Good or bad?
Good.
Good.
Sorry, I should have prefaced.
Is that the first one that like felt real serious?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the new serious.
My friend Andrew plays that game a lot.
Yes,
I've
it
heard
is.
nothing
It was
but good
on my
things.
comfort game list.
Yeah.
I never said it, but it was. But I love going back to this game, and it's just fun to be able to explore. And it's more like open levels, which I really appreciate.
I like that.
I like that more than open world. I'd rather just have like a big level and you can explore
it's
those nooks and
more.
crannies. And
The old games were more in the design philosophy of like Resident Evil, and the new ones are much more like Uncharted.
Oh,
like
yeah, 1000%.
very.
I think it does better job than Uncharted.
I agree. I think the traversal
In terms
that
of
game-
actually interacting with the world and
Yeah.
feeling like you're engaging
I've watched
with
Andrew
something. Yeah.
play quite a bit of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. I personally have not played it, but
Yeah.
like I said, I've heard nothing but good things. So
So I really enjoy it. Because it's like
Because
you
the
know,
traversal in there, it feels epic. And your
incredible.
suspense
Yes.
is through the roof.
Yeah. And one
On
thing
what's
that's
going to happen next.
Yeah, and one thing that's nice is that, well, you did mention when we were talking about earlier, is that everything that you can like grab onto is kind of, it's not like color coded, but
It's
it's
not
like,
obvious like other games.
but it's like withered wood.
Yeah.
Or there's rocky, craggy cliffs.
They don't paint it yellow
it's,
like,
It's
uh,
very
It'll
clearly
catch your
visually
attention.
different to where you know you can interact with it without being so like obtuse. Where
Looking
you're like,
like it
I don't
was-
even know. Yeah, or
It's natural.
It's natural. It looks
it's like
natural.
a 3-dimensional arrow just pointing to it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's not like bright red where you're like, oh, okay, this is clearly where I'm supposed to go.
Or
There's
like
different
how-
ways to get to where you're supposed to go, but you can, you know, there's like a decrepit plane, and you can like interact with that, and it's enjoyable. But I always remember just there's like these cliffs, and there's like all these rope lines that you can either usually you have like a kind of like a basically like a pickaxe.
Mm-hmm.
And you can swing onto it.
It's a climbing hook thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, but I just remember playing in that level, just literally jumping off the highest point and just falling, and then just barely hooking the line at the last minute,
Yeah.
and then zipping all the way back all the way top, and
Yeah.
then keep jumping.
I
and
think
it's
that's
like
the big thing is like it doesn't feel so scripted in the sense that like you can't use this unless you stood up there and you hit the prompt whenever the
Right.
button popped up. It's like if you're near it contextually,
You can grab
will let you
onto
do
it.
it. So
Yeah.
you're like makes the world feel much more connected.
Yeah.
And I think that's makes it way more satisfying to
Yeah.
interact with stuff and to explore in general. Like you might not know if you can get there, but you feel like you have a lot more tools to try.
right,
And I
exactly.
think that's way more satisfying.
And it tackles female protagonist in a way that you didn't expect a Tomb Raider game to.
right. I agree.
You mean extremely gory?
Yeah.
And unpleasant
If
to
you
watch.
miss the line, just
Yeah, that game got. I mean, I'll say it got a lot of attention. I don't know if it was positive or negative for just how grisly a lot of those deaths are.
Yeah.
To the point where it almost feels like a little flagrant, where it's like,
I forgot about
isn't it
that.
cool just how like, she's getting ground up? Watch it all.
Right.
We're not cutting
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Like the Meat Man game.
Meat Boy?
Meat Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just leave
right,
a bloody
exactly.
trail and everything as you're jumping. Yeah.
So, but this game it's just I remember because it came out in 2013. So
Yeah, which is
23 at the time.
They've done a remastered. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it looks
Oh,
great.
yeah, it does.
But I
look
just
great.
remember like I said, jumping off the cliffs and climbing out, and I just remember going back and doing it. I'm not even like completing the level. I'm just having fun
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like it almost takes you back to when you
Yeah.
were like a kid and just like enjoying having fun in the level without
Yeah.
actually doing
anything, yeah.
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 But also it's like, you can craft and stuff and they have like little boxes, but they also stand out from the environment. And where it's not like so obtuse where it's just like, here's this bright, like just like the Rocky Crags. It's just a regular box, but you can interact with
It has that thing
you
where
get
the pickable
supplies.
items like flash, like a Resident Evil game.
like shimmer.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
yeah,
catch your
yeah.
Yeah.
But then you go to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and they had a different
team.
team.
This is your bad.
This is the bad
Is
part.
this the sequel?
It's amazing
is
that
the-
you can
this
be
is the
like
trilogy.
the good
Okay.
example is this game.
Yeah.
The bad example is the sequel to
It
this
is
game.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
So, because in the first one, you're getting lost because you're enjoying the exploration. In the second game is just kind of like meh. But the third game,
I was going to ask what your opinion of that.
yeah,
was.
it's okay.
That's fine.
But the third game is you're getting lost because you don't know where the F to go.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, you don't know where you're going. Everything just, all of the vegetation just blends in with the rest of so you don't know if you can interact with anything at all. And there's like, nothing makes sense. Like you could swing on tree branches in the first one because there's like a tree and it's like I could probably grab onto it, and you do, and then you can swing. And next in the third one it's like makeshift metal. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense narratively. Like, why is this random metal bar in a tree? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like they just wanted to focus on like stealth kills and stuff rather than making the world cohesive and make sense.
It feels like from a world building standpoint, they cut too many corners
Yeah.
in terms of design.
Yeah,
They were like,
everything was like more linear, but it was also confusing to navigate. You didn't want to explore; you just wanted it to be over, and it just didn't have the traversal, like the grittiness of the first one, which
Yeah.
it was a big disappointment for me.
Yeah.
So
that's a shame. It's a shame that such a high point got
Such
a
a low
follow up that's
Yeah.
such a low point. That
Yes.
they just fundamentally misunderstood what made that game so good.
yeah,
That's a shame.
Yeah.
What's your number one?
Well, when I went to think about, let me stall. When I went to think about open world, it's when I was a kid, it would have been like, my whole list would have been open world games. And as I get older, I more appreciate linear.
The attention to
The
detail.
attention
that
to
a
detail
linear
that they
takes.
can finally craft these things. And talking about bad examples, Oblivion. It's
for a
boring.
lot of
It's
reasons.
boring.
I can tell you, I could probably do a whole podcast on what I don't like. About
Everything else
Oblivion
about that
design.
game carries the game for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the world is so bland and boring.
It's recycled too.
Like
There's so many
two-tone.
elements that you see over and over again.
Like Morrowind, at least like you're always like finding interesting things. and
well,
things like
that's
that, but-
interesting. So I was actually watching a video yesterday on YouTube about that. It's off. I was watching a video yesterday on YouTube that was saying that Morrowind was the last game that team made in the Elder Scrolls series before they could automate game like level design. So the entire
that's-
world of Morrowind is literally someone had to think to put the thing there.
And you can definitely see that.
Yeah, I feel like that's so
yeah,
true.
Yeah. But I want to talk about Untitled Goose Game.
Okay,
Wow.
that's an excellent example.
Yeah. Such good
Wow,
level
man,
design.
I don't know how I didn't think of that. I literally just watched a playthrough of that game recently,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, man, this game is
I was talking
so
to
smart.
it's so
Yeah.
smart. It feels like the difference between American humor and British humor. It feels like the difference between an American game and a British game, but it's an Australian company. Untitled Goose Game. Have you played it?
I have.
Okay. I got it right when they unleashed the co-op. As soon as I heard they had got a co-op mode released, I bought it for me and Haley.
I
to
did
play.
not know they had a co-op.
Yeah, free
Yeah.
update.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Free
it's
update.
cool.
It's been out for quite a while, several years.
Because Ren and I have played it together. So.
Yeah. Oh, you played together with single player?
Yeah, Ren and I just played it, but we didn't. I didn't know there was a
really
co-op
good.
part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely have to
I
do
just
that.
talked to my little brother Dawson about it, and he had no idea this game existed. And I was
Yeah.
like, we've
Yeah.
never talked
Oh my
about.
gosh, dude.
Because I was talking about this podcast and stuff I was going to talk about. And I was asking him what his thoughts on level design and things were. And I was like, Untitled Goose Game. And I just assumed he had played it and loved it. And he was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, man,
that's
I get
wild.
to do this.
Yeah.
I get to tell you about this. Him and Allison.
Not even that. Like, sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. Take the controller.
Him and his
right.
wife, Allison, played it and they loved it and they beat it in a
man.
day.
Yeah,
which I
I
was
bet.
like,
That's awesome.
That seems like perfect for them too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they seem like the exact couple that would just the type of like charming chaos
Yeah.
that
Right,
game
yes.
emanates
yeah.
all the time.
And the American version of this, if we're calling this like the British version, is Goat Simulator.
Yeah, you're right. That like it's Goat Simulator is so much more bombastic
Yeah.
and like
High
Untitled Goose Game is
energy.
like very subdued, very
Great
like,
music.
the way that people get mad at you,
Yeah.
like no matter what you do to torment them, it's just like to quietly
It's a
put their
goose!
arms up
What
in
can
the
I
air and be
do?
like,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the game when you find out that like you do this every day,
Yeah.
and then to think back to people being like, not again,
Yeah.
to you for the 100th time destroying his garden
Yeah.
is just so funny. Too.
Right. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah,
You-
the humor's huge.
You play as geese, and if you can just play a single player, and you play as a goose, but and you have like a few buttons, like one to lower your neck,
Right. Yeah.
so you can pick things up on the ground, and can you
the,
raise?
the animations
Yeah.
are so,
It's so
cute.
good.
You
too.
can honk, which is a thing you need to use quite often in the
right.
game.
It's great for scaring people.
Oh, it's so good.
it's really good.
And the co-opness adds a lot of strategy to it, where you can like distract people, and then the other goose can come up behind
Yeah,
and
that
like
makes sense,
grab
yeah.
the keys, and it makes a lot of things easier. I think you're going to beat it a lot quicker in co-op, but it makes it more fun at the same time.
Yeah.
I think the speed run for that game
Yeah.
in co-op is like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you know what you're doing,
Yeah,
it's very
I'm actually
quick,
surprised
but-
it's that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I would say maybe an hour and a half or so, but
It's a game that rewards experimentation with the level design.
Right.
There's not like a lot of secrets, like areas to go to. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things that you didn't think you could interact with.
Yeah.
That you can.
Yes.
And
not necessarily secret areas and stuff, but
Yeah.
a lot of Easter eggs.
a lot of
I
Easter
think.
eggs,
Yeah.
where that you end up making that kid so scared of you,
Yeah.
and he runs in that phone booth and won't come out.
It's really good.
And the
really
garage door that you lock that person in.
Yeah.
And they turn around just in time to see it coming in, and you see them before it closes. They're like, "Whoa!"
As you're just honking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a clever game, and the design, the flow of the world. It's like almost circular. I mean, it
Yeah.
is a circular world, but it's crazy how circular it feels.
It's crazy that it is circular
Yeah.
because when you realize that it's circular, you're like, because at the end you have to run back through the entire world and get back to where you were, and you're like, I can't believe this was so small. Because
Yeah.
by the time you get to the end, you feel like you've done so much.
Yeah.
How could it possibly be
Be
that
that
small?
small, yeah.
But it's just a one little town.
Yeah, but you can spend your time in that game and have fun. You don't have to progress
Oh, yeah.
through it to
Right.
have fun.
Oh,
you could
yeah,
like
for sure.
experiment to see different ways to
Oh,
mess
yeah.
with these people.
I think the game
Yeah.
very much wants you to take your time
Yeah.
and just goof around.
and it is. It's just like it's not
around.
a stressful game.
Goose around. Cut.
Yeah.
Do a retake.
That's
You really don't need to chicken out on these puns.
Yeah.
Is it my turn yet?
That's right.
But yeah, it's clever. It's witty.
Right.
It's so well designed. It
And a lot of the clever wit comes from the map, like comes from the world
Correct.
itself. That's
Yeah.
what I think is so
yeah.
Yes.
so good about that.
And
game.
the
So
You could
characters-
see why if it wasn't designed the way it was, it would not work.
Oh no,
No, not at
And
all.
the music in the game,
that game could be so boring.
The music is one continuous track that changes depending on what you're
What
doing.
you're doing. Right. Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
feels like there's a guy somewhere playing
Just
the piano watching you play, and it's amazing.
Oh man, yeah, that's so true.
There may be.
Yeah,
He's
but-
very tired.
Yeah.
Let him rest.
but yeah, great game.
That is a great game. Good.
It's like $20 if it's
Fantastic
not
choice.
on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on every system.
Is it
My
on
brother,
Game Pass though? Because I think that's how Ren and I
it,
downloaded that.
I think
It
it,
might be.
I think it
Okay.
might be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or it was at one point at
yeah.
least.
Yeah.
it's on Switch now, and
Oh, I did not know that.
That's where I played it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
that's where Dawson
fun.
bought it. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a great system to play it on.
Yeah. Great choice.
And we'll move on to Jared.
Okay, my number 2.
Oh.
What?
I forgot to do that if we were talking about. So what did you think about that? Instead of being like, hey,
Yeah.
So my second one is something that we've talked about at length, but I'm going to try. I've tried specifically in the episodes before where we talked about it to not mention any of the stuff I wanted to say here, which is Monster Hunter Rise. A little game you guys may have heard of.
that's right.
Okay. I think we should.
We have a homie work coming out at the end of this week, I believe, that will talk about your experience with Monster Hunter Rise. And I don't want to talk about the gameplay or anything. What I want to talk about is every time I play that game, and the more I play it, is that this world has Monster Hunter Rise has 5 different worlds. They're all different biomes, right? Different types of environments, like ice, lava, blah, 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 whatever. But all of them are pretty big.
Yeah.
And the whole world is designed to feel like an ecosystem. So everything that you need to do to upgrade your character or anything like that is you're collecting ingredients that grow in different areas. You're climbing different places. You're finding all these hidden areas that have ore deposits so that you can mine or whatever. And everything feels like an actual environment that you can just it just happens that you know a use for all the different stuff in that environment. And it is so interesting to see how interconnected everything is. And some of it is stuff that you need for crafting, or some of it is stuff that you use immediately when you pick it up, like animals and stuff like that. And some stuff is stuff that you're crafting on the go because you need it in that moment. And all the while, these animals that you're hunting are part of this ecosystem, and you see them interacting with stuff like fighting smaller animals or fighting each other for territory or whatever, turf wars and stuff like that. And I've never seen a world that does such a good job of making everything that you want in it, all the consumables and gatherables and collectibles that are in the world, feel like they were there for not for you, but because that's where they grow. That's why they just exist there, and you just happen to be gathering them.
Put that in my bag.
I need that skunk in my bag.
That's right.
And I think it's really, really impressive the way that they've managed to harmonize all these different functions of gameplay and design and communicating to the player what stuff is, all into one thing that feels like it's not even there for you.
Yeah.
It's just there.
And the complexities of the level design take a while too, which you'll hear us talk about in the homie work episode. Take a while to understand, because once you understand the use of all these items that you're grabbing,
that's a big part of it is you're collecting stuff, you don't even know what it does.
Yeah. It's
just
glowy. I'm going to pick it up.
Which I think it encourages me to explore, because there's also relics spread out and other bases that you can find and build, and then you can fast travel to that area quicker, or just seeing cool stuff.
Yeah, just take an expedition mission and
you can literally,
secrets.
instead of doing a quest, you can just take a mission where you're just allowed to explore with no time limit.
You can still take the monsters out, or you can ignore them.
And there's lots of ways. Exploring it gives you such an advantage, because you understand how to navigate more efficiently. You find spots where you can slingshot yourself to different parts of the map if you have the right items to place there, and then once they're there, they're permanent. So there's so many benefits to understanding the environment, which just lends itself that much more to this idea of hunting a monster that's indigenous to this area.
Right.
It all works so well together, and it's such a complement to the actual gameplay. I can't think of a better example of a game just being so inclusive in its design philosophy like that. I think it's just really one of a kind in that sense.
No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Rare.
good maps.
The rare triple agree.
I think the lava world is a little
Undercooked.
Yeah.
Taylor
thought that joke was funny.
This is not a rare triple agree.
That's right.
That was dumb.
Undercook, overcook, right to jail.
Right to jail. Straight away.
Straight away, right away. I think that's my least favorite level.
Yeah,
but
it's fine. But it's a little confusing to navigate, especially when you're looking at the mini map.
Well,
the
bigger problem is it's hard to navigate because
Yeah.
there's not really any other environment.
No,
I agree that the lava world, it's difficult to traverse because
I thought you were going to say it's Undercooked.
No, I'm not going to say it's Undercooked. I'll never say that.
Maybe Overcooked. Huh?
Okay. Maybe. But it's just most of the other maps don't have any kind of like hard obstruction that you just can't go around.
Yeah.
This has so many like lava paths that you're like, well, I
Yeah.
just can't go this
There's
way.
like graphic walls and
Yeah,
stuff.
yes.
You just don't see any ones.
yeah,
Except for
I
the
agree.
like outer exterior.
Right.
If anything, it highlights to me just how well made the other maps are. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I agree.
No segue. Taylor, go.
Jello number 2. Go.
Number 2, Dishonored.
Great choice.
Oh, yeah.
I think the level design.
I
in
thought about
that-
including that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is a great choice.
It is. Well, I'll let you talk.
Well, no. I mean,
Don't
you
do
got,
that.
You got something.
I just like it's so well thought out and it feels living, and you have a mission, right?
Yeah.
And the world is so well designed that it's going to reward you for going a certain way and trying a different strategy.
Right.
And you have so much freedom in that. But
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job at designing that for a character choice of how they want to
Yes.
tackle missions.
Exactly.
I agree.
Plus, the
100%.
traversal in that game is immaculate.
Yes.
I mean,
I put
so
them.
they thought of everything. It's like you can slide or you can use your little. I don't even know what it's called. It's like, you see a ledge. There's a guard here. There's a guard there. You'll be jumping. You'll shoot this guard, and then you'll teleport right behind the other guard and just do like it's just
The mobility.
seamless. The mobility
Is really.
but the level rewards that mobility. You know what I mean? So it's just like if you have this
Blink.
level,
I call it blink.
blink. There you go. But so it's like built around everything. Like they could have easily given you these crazy cool powers, but the level design doesn't complement that. Then it wouldn't have been fun to explore by any means. But there's
And
always
it doesn't
nooks
feel
and
like
crannies and
the world doesn't feel super intentional where they designed it to
be that way.
be that way,
Right.
where other games do. It just
Exactly.
feels like a natural world, and you have these abilities to navigate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Very cool. Fun fact, the guy that designed the art style for that game is the same guy that worked on Half-Life and Half-Life 2.
It definitely shows.
Pretty obvious
Definitely
when you see
shows.
them
Yeah,
together.
Well, now that you say
definitely
that,
see it.
yeah, that
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a cool way of designing.
He's got a great vibe.
The giant walker things that
Yes. Yeah. You
Striders.
know what? I didn't even think about that.
Striders.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. I'm good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
What's your second? Third?
Someone say something while I look at my phone.
I think it is your. It's what's your number 3, Ryan?
I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about the Halo multiplayer maps.
Oh yeah. Do it.
Sorry, I just like totally did that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it again.
The reason I didn't put a Halo multiplayer map on my list is because I felt like it was cheating to be like Blood Gulch, Coagulation, Zanzibar.
Well, that's just what I'm talking about.
Warlock. Like,
Is the
they're
Halo-
so consistently excellent.
Yeah, the Halo multiplayer maps stand out in the first-person shooter genre so much. Like, there's no other first-person shooter game where I remember the names of the maps.
That's
but
so true. Yeah.
freaking Blood Gulch, Zanzibar, is it Beaver Creek?
Yes. Yeah, I forgot about Beaver Creek with only rockets is so good.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
Huh, how about that? Valhalla, great. Guardian,
Yeah.
great.
I like Warlock, the one where it's got
Yeah.
like the tower and all the paths wind
What's
up
the one
in
with
a
the big
spiral.
bridge in Halo 3 with the two opposite side?
Oh, I'm not crazy about that one.
I actually like that one a lot.
Breathe into the mic and move your hands in front of the camera.
That's right.
Ryan, the agent of chaos in this episode.
Yeah. It's good.
Just tuck them on in.
So what do you
your
like about 'em?
pockets.
They're so well designed and they're all so different. You get a lot of multiplayer games where every map just feels like a reskin or something, or it just feels so like thrown together. But like Zanzibar has such this crazy good balance where
good.
one half of the map is so different, the other half of the map is so different. But it doesn't matter what side you're on. One team can do great, one team can do great.
Yeah.
The thing is, that map, Zanzibar, I think, in particular, is an incredible example because if you're looking at it from, like, imagine a rectangle where the far sides are to the left and the right, short sides are top and bottom. At the bottom is the little beach area that is, like, shielded by a big wall, but there's, like, a walking path on the top of the wall, right? And so basically there's, like, a natural fortification here where the one team starts, so they can't be just camped. You can't just shoot them as soon as they spawn because your line of sight is broken. And there's only one entrance into this area where there's a giant windmill in the middle. I don't think it's a windmill, but it moves like one. And then there's like all these small spaces that are breaking it up. So there's never like there's so many opportunities to kind of like I think Bungie in general does this exceptionally well, that they make maps where there is always more than one vantage point to where you are. You can never hide somewhere where there aren't two different areas to shoot you from. So you can't just sit in a spot and shoot anybody and then like move out of the way. When you're always vulnerable from a direction that you can't observe as you are doing something else. And Zanzibar, like in the back, you have like very tight, close combat. That's if you want to use the shotgun, you lure people in there and you have an advantage. If you want to use the sniper, you go out into the open area. It's such an interesting mix that totally facilitates different play styles.
In Zanzibar, like you're never staying in one place. Like you're having a great time anywhere on the map.
Right. The thing is the multiple vantage points and the equalization of access to like targets, so to speak, makes it to where you have to keep moving. Which means the map, the game never stalls out in a way where no one sees anybody else because everybody's found their little hiding spot.
It's not too
big.
Not moving. It's not too small. It's the perfect size map for 8 players, 4 players, 6 players.
I think that's important too, because sometimes,
how does it
especially
scale?
newer games, they make the maps so large. It's like, dude, that's not even fun because you're not doing anything. It's like you're playing golf. You're just playing baseball or sitting out in the outfield waiting for 6 innings because you can't. Nothing's happening.
And I think
the Guardian map is also another highlight for me.
Which one is?
I think I'm getting the name right. It's got a circle in the middle. It's got the gravity hammer underneath that.
Oh, it's like 2 tiers inside a Covenant's craft. Is that the one you're talking about? Okay.
Is it a Covenant?
It's all purple, like you're
Flood?
inside the Covenant.
There's like nature. There's like a
2
tree
rings.
Trunk. There's like a tree trunk.
What is the joke?
It's okay. You guys will see when you see the trivia.
There's
I see. Okay.
There's a tree trunk that you can like jump off of to get into the middle of the map, and then there's a big gravity lift on one end, and then on the other end is like this tower that like rounds about to explosive on the, but it's a good sniping point, but there's an explosive that spawns behind you. But underneath all that is a sniper. Do you know what I'm talking about yet?
I do. I just don't remember.
I think you really have to kind of tip your hat to, especially the OG Bungie team and their ability.
That's why I was excited for Destiny. I was specifically excited for their multiplayer because I was like, it's going to be the new Halo multiplayer. And I remember playing it and not really caring for it.
The balance of the gameplay is just so different.
That
it's not. Is it me?
It's you.
If you want.
Okay, Talon has nothing else to say about Halo. He hates
Typical.
He hates Halo. Oh, okay. Let's play. All right, now we're talking. All right, that'll be the episode. No, I'm gonna do my number 3, which is Deathloop.
Oh, really?
Man, really?
So I'm not talking about Deathloop as a game, obviously. I'm talking about Deathloop as an example of design. Of level design.
I definitely think it has great
absolutely
level design.
I don't know that another game like this even exists because it is so specific to what this game is, which is like you are this guy, basically these 8 visionaries decide to go to this island and they invent this field around the island based on some natural phenomenon that's already there. It traps them in a time loop where they relive the same day every day.
But they're aware of this.
They're all aware that they do. They're aware that they're in a loop, but their actions never change because it's a loop. So every day you see them, they're like, there's one person who is a scientist. She's the visionary that does all the research stuff. And every day you go to see her, she'll always be doing the same thing. But what she's doing is researching a way to break the loop. So she knows she's in the loop, but there's nothing she can do because at the end of the day, everything gets erased and goes back to the way it was, except for you. Whoever you are, you don't remember, but you know that you were originally one of the visionaries and you want to break the loop. And the only way to do that is to kill the other 8 visionaries all in one day. And then I don't remember mechanically why that is the case, but basically all the other visionaries are like out doing their stuff. There's 8 of them, and there are 4 parts in the day. So that you can, at any point in time, you can like go through certain doors in the world, and it will move time forward. So it's one day, but it's one day, but it's broken up into 4 parts. And if you go to a certain person in the 3rd part of the day, obviously they're going to be doing something different than they were in the 1st or 2nd or 4th parts.
Okay.
And your goal is to, because there are only 4 parts in the day, and you need to kill 8 people, you have to find a way to get 2 of the 8 people in the same place and kill them both 4 times. So you have to get 2 of them to meet up 4 different times at each time of the day.
Interesting.
But the way that you do that is by exploring this world and gathering information about their habits. What are they doing? One great example is like if you are vibing in the world and checking all the notes and really being careful about like collecting information, you'll find out that 2 of the visionaries are like having an affair behind the scenes. They don't want anybody else to know. So if you can find these messages that they've been sending to each other, you can find out that they meet up once a day at a certain time. But when you find that out, you go there, and the room that they're in is locked, and there are people all around the building guarding it. So it's not as simple as, oh, they meet up, I'll just go in and kill them.
Right.
Now a different puzzle is happening. So the first puzzle is figuring out what you even need to do.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that is baked into the world. It's really, really interesting to see, like, and of course everything goes back to the way it was when you reset the loop. So, but you still have all that information that you've retained. So now you're like, okay, the next day I'm going to try a different approach and see, how do I get the combination to this door so I can unlock it and get in there where they are? Or can I do something else, like put poisonous gas in the room so I don't even need to go in there or whatever? And there's lots of really interesting twists on all the different visionaries, because they're all basically egomaniacs who are all doing weird, like billionaire stuff. Like the lady that does all the research for them clones herself because no one else is smart enough to help her with her research. So it's, you don't know which one is the real her, and she's like super paranoid. So first of all, the base is locked down out in the middle of like this Arctic shelf that's hard to even get to. And then when you get in there, it's locked down.
I actually did kill her,
Yeah, and then when you get in there, you don't know which one's the real her, because there's like 30 versions of her all arguing with each other. And it's, so you have to really dig through the world and look at every little detail to even know how to progress. But the game still does a great job of communicating what you've learned to you in like a concise way so you can reference it back. And it's just really, it's fascinating how they've made such a intricate world where every little detail can give you some insight into something else. And manipulating that and then like coming back the same day and trying something different and getting a totally different result, or like showing up and there's a safe that was robbed by somebody else at like midday. Well, you're like, oh, I'll just go in the morning. And I need to find the code, but it won't have been robbed yet. So there's just things changing all the time. And it's really, really interesting. It's all based on just the world itself. Like it's all just baked into the place that you're in. And I've never seen a game put that much emphasis on the character's direct involvement with the actual static world. Not even the people so much as the objects in the world. Like it's a great example of that to me. And awesome. I don't think any other game has really done that. So I think it's a really interesting example of level design.
Yeah, those are good points, and I don't think I was appreciating the game on the scale that you were, or the scale that I should have.
Well, you were...
But...
Yeah, and I'm not even...
You're probably anticipating something kind of different.
No, I was going in fully. I fully knew.
Okay. Never mind.
What I was super enticed.
By
the concept of this death loop, and all the things that Jared was saying. But for me, it just got a little monotonous when the loop would start over again. And
it can be frustrating if you don't know how to move forward, or if you're like, okay, I'm getting 7 of them, but I have no idea how to get the last one in a place that I can get to them.
And the entire time, there's another character that has the strange trait that you do of knowing, of remembering what you did the previous day, which is the same day you're experiencing now. And they're actually trying to kill you.
She's one of the visionaries. All the visionaries know you exist, but they're so focused on their own dumb stuff that they're basically ignoring you. She has dedicated the day to killing you.
Yeah.
And so
And she remembers what you do.
she knows that you're breaking the loop,
Yeah.
and she's trying to stop you from breaking the loop. But the problem is she's still in the loop.
And doesn't she
so
have
every
an
day
AI?
She has to start over.
Doesn't she have an AI learning based on your behavior?
So it's not necessarily that she's learning so much as she is capitalizing on what you do. So if you do a series of events differently one day, then she will be aware of that. Or like the safe that I was talking about earlier that was robbed. She's the one who robs it because she doesn't want you to get the information inside.
I see.
So she is trying to sabotage your progress.
Isn't the safe in your home?
It's
Is that the scene where it's like a trap?
Man, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. It is.
Okay.
Just kidding.
But yeah, she's a really interesting
Just cut that out.
foil in there. But like she appears randomly, but where she appears and like how the story progresses as you two are interacting with each other. Because there are lots of cutscenes where she tries to assassinate you, and like you get a moment to like ask her what's going on because you don't remember why you're there or why you did this in the first place, or you just wake up and you've written on your arm "break the loop," and that's all you know.
Wow.
So yeah, it's got a lot of really interesting elements that come together in there, and all of it is based around just nitpicking this world apart. And I love that. So Ryan, you still have one left?
No, Talon's next. On his
Talon,
own.
you still have
3,
one left?
and then you have your number 3. Okay, my number 3 is Dark Souls.
Okay. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. So I feel like
Just
I'd be
scratch
doing
that one off your list.
everyone a disservice if I didn't talk about
Yeah.
the incredible world that Dark Souls has built.
To this-
Specifically, this first one.
The first one. And in the third one, the creator said that he wished he had made the design closer to Dark Souls. When he had finished that game, he went back and said, I wish I made it more like Dark Souls 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it says so much about that game. It's like it's not just Dark Souls, but it is an actual design philosophy that has obviously existed before Dark Souls, but it became popularized, and the shorthand for it is that it's like a Souls-like level design.
Yeah.
Literally means like you are exploring these places that are very unfamiliar to you, and you get so lost, and you have no idea where you are because you're just out exploring, and then all of a sudden you'll open a door or you'll lower a ladder or something will happen, and all of a sudden you're back at the hub world, and now you don't have to take that loop anymore. And the way that it organically introduces these shortcuts gives you such a sense of accomplishment in just exploring this world.
Yeah.
Like that to me is what makes Souls so cool.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and especially because it's like you might have 0 flasks left, and you
Which is how you heal in the game. It's like essentially potions.
right.
You're out of
And
heals.
so- yeah, you're out of healing.
Which is very dangerous.
You got very low health. You just beat this crazy looking dude or whatever, and it's like if I push just a little bit further, there might be a bonfire, and then
Or a shortcut
or a
back.
shortcut, and you take the elevator, and it leads you back to Firelink Shrine, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And then it's like you can go and you heal, and then you can go back and explore by taking the elevator back up. It's just like this perfect, almost loop
Yeah.
of just enough to get you further into the world. But it's like even if you start at Firelink Shrine, which is like your main hub, I guess, or whatever. But it's like there's stairs going up and there's stairs going down, and it's like the higher you go, the like the more elevation you get, you explore a castle, and then it's like you go further down, you're just gonna go underground.
There's even like 2 staircases down from
Right.
the hub. You can go down to like the catacombs, or you can go down into I can't ever get the name right. It's like New Londo and
Yeah, it's New Londo. On Orlando is
On
the
Orlando
big old
is,
castle.
which is it's backwards.
Right, yeah.
You would
yeah.
think the big fancy city would
City
be New
would
Londo.
be.
Well, but
Yeah.
the thing is, like, you often have no idea where you're going until
Yeah.
you're there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what I think, that's what I was talking about when I was saying, like, you think you're so far from where you started.
Right.
You think you've gone in the opposite direction. And somehow, without you realizing it, you've looped back to the shrine.
Right.
And now you're like, what?
Yeah.
That's where I am? And all of a sudden, it's so satisfying when you have that moment of like, oh, I understand the entire route I just took just from seeing where I came out.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden, instantly, this part of the
Yeah.
map is filled in for
There's
you.
no
And it's
load
like,
screens. The whole world is actually connected. It's not an illusion.
That's why when you start the game, it takes 3 hours to load.
That's right. But it's crazy because it's like you could be standing like on a cliffside that you spent 3 hours to get to and look down and you can see Firelink Shrine and you're like, wow, that's just where I came from.
It's hard to replicate that feeling.
Yes, absolutely.
The
But
one
it's cohesive and it makes sense.
The one that
Yeah.
I'd never understood to this day, and even when I played it recently, you go down to the catacombs, right? You start off, if you pick your gift, you can get that key really early to open up that one lock right before you start going into not the catacombs, New Londo. You know, you can open that gate.
Oh, right, to the drakes.
And then you start going down into the swamp.
I don't remember that part. Yeah. Right,
What's it called?
Blighttown?
Blighttown. The transition from that gate from New Londo, and then you're out in this like canyon area with this dead dragon, and you're trying to like look around the map and see how it's connected. It's very confusing. Go back there and look.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to now.
And be like, how did I get here when I was just there? And it's not like an elevator or anything.
Right.
Like you took an elevator down,
Yeah.
way down to get to New Londo.
Yeah.
You open up that gate, you go down this short stairway,
Right.
and you're in this like entirely different environment, and you
Right.
can't see how you got from where you were.
Yeah.
How long and how bad does a blight have to be before your town is named after it?
Blighttown.
I will say
Generations we've been sick
Yeah.
with this thing.
Yeah.
that is one thing that's nice about Dark Souls is when you go to a new environment, it's a completely new environment with new enemies and like a new infrastructure. You know what I mean? It's like it
Yeah.
feels
Each area is iconic.
It does feel like no
different.
one has ever heard of Torchlight, though. Like, nothing is ever lit in that game.
Oh, no,
Except
it is.
bonfires.
Oh, wow.
There's plenty of
I just mean
torches
it's a
up
very
there.
dark game
Uh,
in general.
yeah.
No
Well,
matter
it
where
is
you
called
go, like
Dark
Souls. So,
The souls are dark.
oh. Somebody get rid of all these
I mean,
souls.
it
It's
definitely has a
dark
different
game.
vibe if you go up or you go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I think
go down.
aesthetically, you can is very clear where you are. Like Bloodborne is very similar in the sense that everything is dark, everything is falling apart, and everything feels like it's barely holding together. But you still can tell exactly where you are just from a couple seconds of looking around.
But I think Dark Souls does a better job at like,
Conveying visually.
yeah,
the
like
differences.
every area looks so different.
Right.
Bloodborne, a lot of the areas.
Dark blue, grays,
Yeah.
blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just has
Reds,
a tone.
'cause all
It
the
just has a
blood.
style
Sure.
to it.
Right.
And all Souls games have a similar style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, any other?
No, I just think it's a beautifully crafted world.
Yeah.
And now
I just
feel
think
like
they're neat.
yeah, it's just
Dark Souls 2 is like, the map is like, you've got your hub world and you have all these different paths and they all just go in straight lines.
right. Yes.
And each one is a totally different path.
yeah,
And you just fast travel back. In Dark Souls 1, you get your fast travel after beating like
Smog and Ornstein.
Smog and Ornstein, which if it's your first playthrough, that's a lot of hours.
That
It's
is.
a lot of hours. If you're very used to Dark Souls, it's pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
And that's when you get the task to fight the 4 mega bosses of the game that unlocks your mega boss fight at the end.
Yeah.
But that's when they unlock fast travel, which is like, that seems like a Capcom thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I'm
I
like,
should have put a paywall, you know, $1.99.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying. You
the-
try to open the door, it's like, you got $2?
yeah.
We'll give it.
You're
to
not
you,
going
but
this way, bud.
you
What's
gotta
his
give it
name?
to me first.
The dude with the flush mustache that pops out of this.
Oh my
Sorry?
gosh, yeah, that's gonna drive me nuts.
Sorry?
Yeah,
His what?
flush mustache.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Flesh mustache, yeah.
You know
How do
what
you
I'm talking
shave
about?
that?
Then you go back to the hub world and you go to that one little area on the way to the catacombs that has a little bit of water in it, and you just hear like something groan. Frant.
Yeah.
And
That sounds like the name of someone with a flesh mustache.
it's just like a neck
Framped.
that pops up out of the super long neck, pops out of the darkness abyss of this hole.
Yeah.
And it's just this face, and there's like a YouTube video of like the
Yeah.
guy saying it. It's just like, oh, what is that? And the dude's framed is trying to give you important context information, but you're too
Freaked
busy
out.
freaking out over
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
face while he's talking.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about the game is it's just like because of where it's at, you're like, there's probably something there, right?
Yeah.
And then you're exploring, and then you just hear some like rambling
Yeah.
or something like that, and you
Frantic,
go,
yeah.
and it's that guy. you
Yeah,
know,
he
and it's
comes
just
out
like,
after you defeat Quelaag.
just more.
Yeah. Go beat more bosses.
Yeah. Wait, basically.
Yeah. It's great.
So, go ahead, man. What's
Yeah, it's a good game.
I want to talk about Resident Evil 7 and 8.
Beautiful.
No, pick one.
7 and 8 feels like a cohesive, like it almost feels like one whole game.
Yeah.
It's not. It's two different games.
And they're
You
so
can tell by the numbers.
so closely designed. There's no way it's a different team making these games, right?
1,000%.
I
Yeah.
don't know. You're all over your mic.
I love it.
You're rappity tapping. You're gonna have to do another take of this.
Okay. I want to talk about Resident Evil 7 and 8.
Oh, those are two different games.
Which,
And I feel like they're one cohesive game. Like
you feel like they have a similar enough design philosophy that you're talking about the same elements
yeah.
when you talk about
When I praise one game, it's the same praises of the other game. I
Okay.
call it Resident Evil Sate,
I'll allow it. Sate.
but that makes it sound like 6 and 8.
Are you sated when you play
Seven,
it?
Yeah.
Seved.
All right,
It's
go
only,
ahead.
you're only going downhill.
Yeah.
These are only worse.
It's fine by me. You go fast when you go downhill.
It's going downhill fast, all right.
Such great level design. There's never a point in the game where I'm like looking around in an area and I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Everything's like I didn't even notice it. I only noticed it on New Game Plus. When you first start off, you play as this guy named Ethan. You're trying to find your daughter Rose, who just got kidnapped by what seems like the military. They just killed your wife. They stole your baby. Now they also kidnapped you, but then the van wrecked that you're being transported in, and you're able to get out of this wreckage, and everyone else
This is 7?
dead.
8.
This is
8.
actually 8. Yeah, I'm actually just straight talking into 8 because I played it recently.
Yeah.
So it's what's fresh in my mind. But so on 8, you get out you're like rambling through the snow, and you get up on this cliff edge. And if you actually take the time to look out on the cliff edge, you can see the whole map of Resident Evil 8 before you even know it. You can see it's like
That's very cool.
it's like Zelda Ocarina of Time when you get out to Hyrule Field. You can see it's what I immediately thought of. You can see the mountain. You can see
Death Mountain and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what it feels like. You can see the castle you're about to go to. You can see the lake area, and then like the factory area that you go
Right.
to. So that was really neat, but I didn't notice it till New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Right,
I'll
because
have
you
to
don't
go
know
back.
what you're getting into
Exactly.
until you've already been there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But
That
I
is
just
very
like I
cool.
took like a minute to like absorb all that
Yeah.
scenery. I was like, oh, wow.
that's very Souls-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil 8 is an improvement on 7 in every way.
well, it should be the numbers higher. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Did you play the demo for Resident Evil 7 before it came out?
Yeah, because you and I talked about it.
Yeah.
'Cause we were
And it was like
this game's
really
freaking
spooky
scary, dude.
and
Yeah.
scary.
Is that the one that got the demo that got deleted that everyone was like, this
No,
is
that's
the
PT.
PT.
Yeah. And the game when it came out had a kind of a different vibe than the demo. At least when you got like into the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't that scary anymore and intense. But 8 mini map like highlights buildings like blue or red. If it's blue, you've got all the discoverable things you can get there, all the loot.
Oh, this is already.
Yeah.
This helps Ryan's OCD.
Yes,
collecting.
which is what I'm about to get
Seriously.
into. And there's a room you can't get back into once you get to a certain point, and that bugged me because it was forever red on my mini map. What am I doing?
You're wobbling your mic.
Back in
What
the
did I say
holes.
about your hands? Put them in your pocket.
Back in the holes. So there's a room on my mini map that's just forever red because you can't go back to that map, and it's the only red room in the entire game, which is like the whole reason I did New Game Plus was to make that room blue, right?
Come here, you stupid room.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to what I missed.
Yeah.
But the level design is so great that when you beat the game, you unlock a like mission mode where you can play as different characters, and you're playing. Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yes,
I'm
it
gonna
is
have to go
a
back and play.
score-based, like time-based game where you're trying to rack up a combo. So if you don't kill an enemy in a certain amount of time, your combo goes back to 0. So if you defeat every enemy in a combo, you have a huge score and you get like a double S rank. And that gives you more points to
Are
unlock.
these specified rooms in the world? Or
It is a like section of the map you just played in the single player campaign that is kind of walled off in certain ways to make a path.
Right.
And you'll even do the same rooms over again with a different path this time. And you have to learn where these enemies spawn so you can quickly turn and kill them because you know they're going to spawn there. So the first time you play it, there's no way you're going to get a double S rank, but you're going to learn where those enemies spawn. You're going to learn the effective route. You're going to learn that the power up that you thought you should be grabbing, you don't need to grab because it's a time waster. To get a double S rank, don't even pick up that upgrade.
Interesting.
You want to just skip that. Or if you can grab the upgrade, you need to make sure you don't kill an enemy at a certain time because you have to kill an enemy every so often, right? So you want to kill.
So you want to space those
Yes, you want to
kills
space
out.
your kills out so that you can grab the power up, and after you grab the power up, you kill the enemy.
Interesting.
And then you keep moving. So, and then it has.
It's
like
really
these-
interesting that the level design is working on 2 different levels,
Yes.
even in a single player context.
Yes.
Like I think that's really
the
impressive.
exploration is crazy good. I wasn't ready to move on from the areas I was moving on from because I wanted to stay in these areas, like the castle you go to.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I have to go to a new area. Like that's exciting, but man, I wanted to keep getting at this castle.
Show me more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you interact with each environment, it's like the Tomb Raider game you're talking about. Came out in 2013, where like everything feels natural. It doesn't feel like it was designed.
Right.
It just feels like this world happened.
It's just somebody lives here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why that's there, because
Yeah.
that person reads that book at night
Yeah.
or whatever.
And like at the very beginning, you have to survive as long as you can against a wave of werewolves that are coming at you, and you're running around these buildings that are decrepit and looking in drawers for ammo as they're like coming at you, and it is intense. And you're like grabbing like dressers to put in front of doors to buy yourself time to look through cabinets and crap for one bullet to shoot something in the head, and while you're also like you can block to minimize the damage, and you're just like shoving werewolves off of you.
Yeah.
And then you're barely alive, and then this big giant werewolf comes down with this giant hammer. You're like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Man.
Start over and do better.
So
Yeah.
So crazy. So awesome.
It's cool that the world is laid out in a way that like it is really fun to explore, but at the same time it functions so well in like allowing you options for buying yourself time in that like as a survival game. It's really smart of them to be able to like line that up and then give you the resources so like the loop can persist in the sense that you're like, okay, I'm out of ammo, but I can buy myself some time to look for some, which I know there'll be some somewhere if I can. So it creates like kind of a combat puzzle. I know Resident Evil has a lot of just normal puzzles that are not combat related in them, but it's really cool to see them bring that through line into the combat itself, where you're having to think of ways to stall in a survival game. Sounds like a really cool mechanic to me.
Yeah.
And the environment is helping you to do that is even cooler.
And it's got a good mix of threats that you can fight and threats you need to run from.
Yeah.
The freaking baby scene.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
And then the doll fight that quickly follows that.
Yeah.
I beat it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. It's kind of like the point, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get outta here. I just
It's
fought a
like-
baby.
We are so sorry we made you experience the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right,
Have this
exactly.
doll fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You fight that doll in the mission-based thing. As
Oh, you do?
It'll
Oh,
be,
okay.
And you can play as the lady. You'll unlock her as a character.
Interesting.
And she has a move. You remember the cutscene where she throws the vanity? You're like peeking at her through a window, and she throws the vanity.
Yeah.
They have that as a weapon. You just throw a vanity, and you upgrade the vanity.
No
See,
way.
Yeah.
One of the things I like so much about the later Resident Evil games, particularly, they did this earlier as well, but like the more you play the game, especially like New Game Plus, they take their own game less and less seriously to the point where it's like
New Game Plus. I have infinite ammo on my grenade launcher.
right, exactly. It's just like
Which
okay,
is what I want.
what is this game that was all about tension and buying time and using every resource? What would it feel like if I had infinite grenades and a grenade launcher?
Yeah.
Like, who would even think
Yeah.
to like flip the
I
script?
feel like that's
to
a
that
good
degree?
callback to old school Capcom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'Cause
where
that's-
you're running around as like
Yeah.
a dude made of tofu. Like
Right.
I
Yes,
remember is it
exactly.
in 2 in the
2.
police station where you're checking out the film development room?
Mm-hmm.
There's a desk or something with a bunch of papers on it. You look at it, it's like there's so many papers here. There's
Yeah.
no way to tell what's what or something like that.
Right.
If you check it 96 times,
Is it 96?
you'll get a
Yeah.
photo of the development team.
Yeah.
And I remember checking it over and over again, not because I really cared, but I just
Right.
wanted to see if it were true.
Right.
And I remember my mom being like, "Babe, what are you doing?" You're just like me, just sitting here as an 8-year-old, just pressing A
That's
over and
right.
over again.
Yeah.
And I was like,
learning to read.
"There's an Easter egg where you get a picture of the dev team." And she didn't even. She was like,
but it's just
"Why did I
Oh,
ask?"
say no more, son.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course. Why wouldn't you check it
That's
96
right.
times then?
Yeah.
If you get to see a photo of some people who worked on the
Yeah.
game.
that's right. Well, it's just like when I beat Onimusha in 2.5 hours. The unlockable was Sam Inosuke now wears a panda suit.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Okay,
No
I
reason
guess.
why.
Yeah, because we know that at this point you're not in it for the thrill of
Right,
adventure,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
right.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's really, but I really love the way, like, because that also really fundamentally changes the way that you're engaging with the environment to not have to like be hiding and stalling and moving stuff around or whatever. You're just like a machine of destruction. And it's cool to see them have so many layers to the ways in which you have to interact with the environment. Like, very smart.
The
very cool.
mini map is just great for like, you'll pull it up and you'll be like, okay, I need to get to this point and I've got this much ammo left and I know this enemy is patrolling this area. How can what's the fastest route there? The mini map is just great for being able to navigate that. It's really easy to navigate.
That's a blessing.
Yeah. So
I feel like mini maps are an often overlooked tool.
yeah.
yeah.
Usually in Halo, pretty
Underutilized.
bad.
Yeah.
Do you think they utilized all of that?
Assassin's Creed Odyssey has the worst world design I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh, dude.
We should do worst as a separate episode because I
Yeah.
feel like trying to find the best, there were so many I ran into.
But
where
I'll
I'm
have to
like,
play
man,
them to justify my reasons.
No, it's fine. Just go on YouTube.
yeah,
I
that's
won't tell. I won't tell. No one will be able to notice.
Yeah. But anyways, tell us your suggestions.
Yes, please
Yes.
let us know what you guys think.
Email them at did I save podcast at
Gmail.
gmail.com or put them in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Put them in the comments.
Absolutely.
Don't
Don't what? What are you warning
just
our
cut that
viewers
out.
about?
I'm not going to actually say that.
You can hit us up on Blue Sky at Did I Save
Yeah.
Podcast. If you want to reach us that way, let us know what your thoughts are. We're on TikTok, of course. Watch our shorts. Let us know what you think.
Indeed.
Yeah, watch us on YouTube for the context. We'll have some video clips of all
Yeah.
the stuff we talk about in there. It's very
That's
nice. Probably a longer version typically. We leave few little bonus segments in there for the long formers. Otherwise, check us out on any podcast platform where you get your podcasts, and be sure to give us a 5-star review because it helps with visibility.
And thank you, Sam Webster, for the use of
Most importantly,
the
thank you,
music
Sam
we
Webster.
use for intro and outro.
That's right.
Tons of cool games you should check out.
yeah.
He's done the soundtrack.
He's
for
never made any bad music.
He hasn't, not a single bad song. All
Nope.
bangers.
All good stuff.
That's right. All dope.
Yeah.
All dope.
Dope skis for the broskies.
Guess that rhymes.
And we also need to remind you to save your game.
I was gonna say don't forget to save.
Don't forget to
but,
save.
You know, you phrase it however.
I
you
need
want.
you to say it first.
You're the
though.
host.
Okay.
Don't forget to save.
To save.
To save, yeah.